I now have the honor and privilege of welcoming Sudhakar Kumar, Senior Systems Engineer West at Ruckus Networks, a Commscope company, for his presentation titled The Role of Wi-Fi Enabled Industrial IoT. Kindly put your hands together for Sudhakar Kumar.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you for attending this session. So I'm Sudhakar Kumar. I represent Ruckus Wireless, take care of pre-sales and technical solutions. Right. So today I'm here to walk you through the Ruckus offerings, how you can enable or onboard the IoT solutions. So before I step in what is our solution offerings, I wanted to walk you through the data points. So how IoT is performing and how IoT is growing across the globe and also in India. So if you look at it from the global perspective, the expectation of IoT device is expected to grow 27 billion by the year 2025. The same that replicates to India is somewhere around installed base of 1.9 billion units, where expected is around 9 billion IoT devices. Zooming more closer, we see the IoT devices are growing in manufacturing and in the utilities sector. Pretty much more than half the size of the units we see the growth in manufacturing and the utilities. Right? In the past 5 years, we are able to see the growth in IoT devices in the M2M sectors. Apparently, other verticals also do take its own growth, wherein in PCs, TVs, smartphones and other devices. So what we are going to achieve from the IoT device is to collect the data, right? So data is the key because it unlocks a lot of informations that can be collected and utilize them for the better judgment and for the better decision, right? So those data are collected, and what we do with those data is the question with the smart manufacturing, right? In the smart manufacturing, the four things, the four important things to look at it is the connectivity, the mobility, efficiency, and the power savings in the smart manufacturing arena. Which takes us to Industry 4.0, where we all see that how we can leverage the existing technology to take it to the next level. Right? So that's what we talk in Industry 4.0, where it helps in the manufacturing companies to enhance the operational excellence. That leads to the Industry 4 leads to fourth industrial revolution, where it requires the data with enhanced speed, with the technologies coming in, which contributes to the smart manufacturings. So which leads to a connected factory, right? So if you take an example of a manufacturing unit, a brand named Zara, they have implemented the connected factory during the pandemic, where they were able to coordinate between their departments, their vendors, and the suppliers until the logistics partners. They were able to successfully implement the connected factory environment with IoT enabled. So if you look at what are the essential things that required to enable the smart factories, that the infrastructure, as we all know, and the second thing is having the capacity at the infrastructure level, and plus the tools which can deliver the meaningful data using the big data, machine learning, and AI tools, AI capabilities. So we all know there is a need, and we all know there is IoT is existing, and there is a digital transformation happening across. So is it easy? So the answer is no, right? So we all understand it's not easy to transform one thing to another pretty fast, considering the existing infrastructure or the legacy devices. So what we did is we tried to understand what are the challenges. What are the challenges that IT team faces when they wanted to implement IoT or any digital transformation in their manufacturing or any other industries. So we looked at manufacturing. So the challenges from the IT teams are like the connected devices are from different vendors that comes with multiple technologies, and of course the infrastructure, right, wired and wireless. So they are thinking like how we can update it, how we can improve. So that's where the challenge is. And with the storage and distribution, harsh RF environments are the challenges because of the heavy signal bouncing factors. Similarly, we saw in other types of properties. So there are challenges to address. So how do we address those challenges, and why there are such challenges? So if you look at it from the broader perspective, the IoT vendors comes up with their own devices, their own platform, their own networking infrastructure, their own middleware, and apparently that gets integrated at the platform level. So they are all working in silos. So when we deploy those IoT network, so for the IT team it becomes very much challenging, right? So how to implement, how we can aggregate those traffic coming in, right? So those are the things that we identify. So what happens is that the management and the configuration becomes more and more complex, having different and multiple devices and network infrastructures and applications. So what we did is we tried to bring a value between things and the services. So we tried to enable or onboard the IoT devices in one single converged network, right? So that's the whole idea how Ruckus brought in a solution for IoT onboarding for the manufacturing industry. So what we could achieve with that is having IoT enabled APs as a gateways, not only as an access point, but also act as a gateway for the IoT network. That's number one. Number two is it eliminates the implementation of more and more switches, which boils down to fewer switches, less cablings, and unified security. When we combine the entire infrastructure together, now we can enable the security at the same layer. So if you look at the solutions from Ruckus, it comprises of 4 components. So what we tried to do is we tried to converge the wired, wireless, and the IoT infrastructure together and kept it under the same infrastructure, right? So as a components, we got AP that acts as access points for the data network, and the same AP acts as a gateway for IoT devices. There are additional modules if required. For few APs requires additional modules. That's the second part. And those APs and the IoT devices can be controlled by the controller, which the same controller can manage both wireless and IoT network. So if you look at the security at each layer, we have ensured the security aspects from the device throughout the module and the controller and towards the northbound services. So how we have enabled that is having between the securities are enabled between the devices. So between IoT devices and the module, We enable the MAC whitelisting. There are other mechanisms that we have implemented as well using the encryptions. So any kind of IoT devices can be onboarded, which supports ZigBee and BLE protocols. Between AP and IoT controller, we use MQTT over SSL, and also plus some sort of certificates that exchange between the controller and the access points. And between the controller and the cloud, so we enable with HTTPS and the key rotations. So that's how the architecture looks like. So typically, the IoT devices connect to the access points, and the access points in turn connect to the switches, which is again from Ruckus Wireless. And we can segregate those traffics towards the IoT controller and the WLAN, wireless LAN controllers. And there are multiple APIs that we can utilize to take those traffic towards the certain or corresponding dashboards to perform computations and to make better decisions. And finally, on the wireless infrastructure, currently the market is on Wi-Fi 6, which gives us the higher data rate even in the dense environment and higher throughput per users. So we recommend having Wi-Fi 6 access points in your IoT network along with our switches. If you look at the use cases that we have worked on, we have come across manufacturing and logistics. We work with government and large venues, and even in the hospitalities, even in this hotel, this property is on Ruckus Wireless. So we have multiple use cases for different verticals. And that's the portfolio what we deal with from the access layer towards the platform. So we do have launched with outdoor access points, indoor access points that connects with access aggregation and core switches, and different sort of controllers which are on-prem, on the cloud, and also on the virtualization. On top of it, with the APIs and some sort of interfaces, we can connect it ahead with the Ruckus Analytics and multiple other systems to make the IoT enabled. So if you do have any questions, like how to deploy, or is there how to overcome the challenges, so you can contact Ruckus Wireless. We do enable the IoT networks. So thank you very much. Thanks for listening. Appreciate it.